Album number two. So today's album falls into multiple categories for me. If you saw my first video, you'll know what I'm talking about. Not only is this a classic album, but it also has some nostalgic connection for me as well. There are three guys that I credit with giving me the desire to play guitar when I was a young teenager. And they all three have an album in this list of mine, so I'll get to speak on each of them eventually. But of course, the first one is Eddie Van Halen. My first experience with the band was the 1984 album. I grew up in a pretty conservative Christian household, and my parents tried as long as they could, as hard as they could, to keep me from listening to rock music. And so my first experience with the band was what I heard on the radio. I didn't have an older sibling to pass down music to me. So, when I heard Jump on the radio early in '84, that was the first thing I ever heard from them. And then, of course, I'll Wait. And then by the summer of '84, Panama was out, and it was just an amazingly awesome song. And I remember sitting at a friend's house, my friend Wade. We were at his house one afternoon that summer, and we were listening to this album. And I made the comment of how great it was and how much I loved this band. And he was like, "Yeah, have you heard their other albums?" And I was like, "What? There are other albums?" And so it became a quest for me to find and listen to the other Van Halen albums that I had never heard. I think the next two I listened to were Van Halen 1 and then Diver Down probably. And it just, was just amazed that they had this entire catalog going on before 1984. Pretty short album. I think it's like 33 minutes. It's only got 9 tracks. And of course, it's the last album that they did with David Lee Roth. And just, hindsight now, reading books and articles and hearing stories about the band and their, and egos and just quarrels and things like that. I think this lineup would have imploded anyway if David Lee Roth had not left after this album. So it's a pretty regular album for me to listen to. I listen to it probably every couple of weeks. It just means a lot to me because of me playing the guitar and it being my first experience with the original Guitar Hero. So as far as tracks, what kid that plays guitar doesn't want to learn the tapping intro to Hot for Teacher or learn the main riff of Panama? For me, though, probably my favorite riff on the entire album is the outro riff that happens right after the solo on House of Pain, the very last song on the album, where David Lee Roth sings along with it, and then he just kind of vamps over that as the song fades out. That's my favorite riff on the entire album. As far as solos go, I think the soloing that he does over the end of Drop Dead Legs is probably the best on the album. And that riff too is probably one of my favorites. I play that. That's like a no-brainer riff that I play on when I'm just sitting with a guitar in my lap. I will just, like muscle memory, start playing the intro to Drop Dead Legs. But nothing takes me back like the first few chords of Jump. I don't care where I hear it or when I hear it. When I hear that, that intro to Jump, the first 3 or 4 chords of that song, I am instantly 13 again or 14 again. It just takes me back. I can't think of another song that transports me the way that one does. So I love this album. I've always loved this album. It may be my favorite Van Halen album out of all the albums. I know there's a lot of Van Halen fans that aren't a big fan of this album. I don't understand that. I don't understand why. And I'm not Team Roth, and I'm not Team Hagar. I like them all. So, but this one though is probably my favorite. So let me know what you think. Was it one of your favorites? have you even heard it? There's several people that I have met in the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years that have never heard this album. So let me know what you think. That's album number 2.